You're listening to the Valley Current.
And I thought about it and I said no, but maybe the next time I might do that. That's kind of a real look out here in Florida. That's kind of the look. That and tattoos are really big out here.
So did you follow the election returns?
I have to say I followed it and I was kind of amazed that Trump didn't concede. I guess he's going to file. He's got some petition pending in the Supreme Court. I was kind of shocked. They're trying to intervene. They're trying to intervene in a case that's currently there involving Pennsylvania, and the timing of votes just seems amazing to me.
Well, it's terrible. And he's not giving a moment's thought to what's best for the country. It's all about him. He could care less about the country. And I don't know how he gets half of the vote. He got 70 million votes. And it's just astonishing to me that people would vote for this man who's so selfish and egotistical.
Bob, think about it this way. Maybe it's all a negotiating tactic. Maybe it's all meant to say to the McConnells and others of the world, look, you got to get the new administration, because you're in control of the Senate. You got to get the new administration to back off any notion that they're going to prosecute me for anything. Tax fraud. You got to get them to back off. So I will concede, but you got to get them to back off. We won't have a major fight in January, but you got to get, and then you got to go to Cuomo and get New York State to back off. Well, that might be the tactic here.
That could be. He does live in that kind of world. And
he lives in a world, Bob, he lives in a world that's kind of the opposite of when you say leave some money on the table. He lives in the world that says assert the absurd because you'll get some value in the negotiating back from the absurd.
Right.
Be extreme, be so extreme that they're like, God, this guy is going to like bring out the army or something. But we were laughing today because we said, if he's golfing in New Jersey, can't they just lock him out of the White House? If he's golfing in New Jersey, at some point, can't they say, Mr. President, your security codes are gone. You're going to have to go back to New Jersey or go back to Florida or go back somewhere. You know, Florida's got the big homestead law that says you can park a lot of assets here. No, we actually looked at some houses. This is a funny story. Yeah. We looked at some houses that are on the water because we always have had a place at the beach. And I have to tell you, it's really cheap. You could buy something for $1 million here that you can't match for 10 million in California. It's pretty amazing.
Now, you mean on the Gulf? What water on the Gulf?
Well,
Coast?
you could either go to the Gulf, or you can go. There's huge lakes here. There's a number of lakes here that are really big lakes. I mean, you know, like the equivalent of Lake Tahoe kind of lakes, major lakes with boating. You know, you could have a boat in your backyard. You could have the whole 9 yards. That's a big deal for people to have a boat in their backyard.
Well, I used to think it would be nice to be on the East Coast along the intercoastal. I like that. And you could have, you know, Susie, you have the intercoastal. It's like a river, but then there are exits out to the ocean.
Right. But that ocean is cold, Bob. That ocean is cold. The Gulf is warm. You go in the Gulf, that salt water is really warm. The Gulf of Mexico, you can go in that almost all year long. The East Coast is cold. The water is cold on the East.
Except in the summertime. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, even the summertime, I have to tell you, even in the summertime, the Atlantic Ocean is cold, if you ask me. Just like the Pacific, it doesn't really warm up.
What about the Gulf Stream? Isn't the Gulf Stream warm?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but man, I've never experienced it. But every time I've gone to Clearwater or one of the beaches in St. Petersburg, you just walk out and you're warm. It's like going into a warm pool. It really is.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I do think there is something to be said about going into the salt water once or twice a week in terms of longevity. I actually do believe that there's something to be said about swimming in salt water. I personally believe that. I don't know if there's any studies on it.
She agrees. She agrees with that. Yeah.
I never even washed the salt off.
Right. Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who are big swimmers. I can't quite find the right pool here, but there are a lot of people that swim. Yeah, I used to swim for an hour hour and a half at the club in Portola Valley. I think swimming is like one of those sports that really keeps you young, but you got to have the right pool with the right, length and the right temperature.
We had the right pool here at the Coral Casino, but it's been closed because of COVID. But it was an Olympic-sized pool with one extra meter. And when they built it in 1936, they made it 1 meter longer than Olympic size.
Yeah, that's a good approach, if you ask me. That should be duplicated because the swim teams do try to take over. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm older, and I don't know if I want to swim a mile a day, but I don't know that we're having some hearings Zoom. Tomorrow I have one on Zoom. Actually, some of it's Zoom. If you're very active in the case, you're Zoom. If you're kind of just listening in, it's telephone. So that's easy. And then I've got a Zoom thing on Columbia, the Board of Visitors, or no, it's the Dean's Council at Columbia. I'm going to be on that one on Zoom. Well,
you gotta love that better than jumping on flights the way you used to, right?
I used to jump on flights all the time, although it was nice. I mean, we went on American. I had very, very high standing there at concierge. So, they would take us first on the plane. They'd call me and ask me to come up first. And we got great service, and it was all first class. And it was one of these deals where I paid money in advance. It was $60,000 a year, but then you get 60,000 miles or something like that.
Oh, more than that. So yeah, way more than that. Yeah, you get a lot of value out of that. You had like an annual unlimited ticket sort of thing, right?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much that way, and it was great. It was great. Years ago, 50 years ago, they foolishly American, they sold a lifetime for, I think it was $100,000 or something. You bought a lifetime first class pass.
Right.
And I think they were sorry later they had to deal with all these people.
There probably are a few people that still have them and are still alive and still using them.
Right?
Yeah, she says they tried to buy it back. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we're not doing that. We're not traveling now. Although, we're trying to work on the Volkswagen case maybe in Europe. And it's pretty hard to do it without going there. We have the people with whom we're working have offices there, but it's hard for those of us who can't go. So in any event.
I think the Zoom stuff is going to continue for a while, Bob. I think we're going to see it continue for a while.
Yeah, and that was a question you raised this morning.
One of the reasons I raised it, just to tell you, there was my friends at Facebook sent me their latest virtual reality device. It's called the Oculus. They send me this stuff because I write papers about the future of virtual reality. So I get this stuff sent to me early. This is their latest version, Oculus 2. I haven't even opened the box yet. I was thinking about opening it today, and I thought, imagine that instead of even having a computer, you have a set of goggles on. That's what this is. This is a set of goggles. This looks like this. This looks like a set of goggles like this. You put them on your face, right? And so it gives you this sense of presence. Like right now, you have a flat screen. I have a flat screen. I could see your dogs. You could see my flag. There's some depth, but the reality is it's not the same as being in the room. They're suggesting that you put these goggles on and it feels more like you're in the same room.
Do you still have your screen like this?
No screen. It's all self-contained.
In the goggles?
And the goggles are currently closed, but the next version, it's going to be open so you could also see the world, because a lot of people don't like having their eyes completely covered. But this version, your eyes are completely covered. And the reason I raise this question is, for a lot of people, the belief is the future is you carry these goggles around just the way you put your glasses on. You don't have any computer. It's all basically embedded in your glasses. And so your glasses are like super high-powered computers. And your glasses take the place of your laptop, your iPad, your phone, everything. So the future is very much your glasses operate like an extension of your vision. So everyone now will wear glasses. Everyone, whether prescription or not, will wear glasses. And when you look in the glasses, if you want that thick report, you can whisper in the glasses, please get me one of these TransUnion reports. And the data comes up and is summarized. And you can say, oh, you lived in Miami Beach for a while. And in fact, you lived in an address that, according to the data, was next to Hulk Hogan. And it starts, I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff. If you think about how much we spend with associates running around pulling data and trying to get us a briefing book, right? Like what you're gonna do if you go to Europe on this Volkswagen thing, someone's gonna do a briefing book and you're going to spend 3 or 4 hours reading it on the plane, probably, maybe more than that. And the book may be this thick or this thick, or maybe it'll be on your iPad. But the point is that'll all be on your glasses, and your glasses become like this supercomputer over time. So if you really buy into that world, if you buy into that view, the question for us as lawyers is the whole practice of law start to change? Because you don't go to an office anymore. You don't go to a courthouse anymore. You don't go to a mediation center. You don't go to jams. You don't go to any big buildings. You don't even go to lunch. I mean, the whole idea of negotiating over lunch seems to disappear. You know what I'm saying?
So are the glasses, do they look like glasses like this?
That's where it's going, probably 5 years from now, Bob. Five or less years.
Knowing that, would you ever have, if you were a young man, would you start law school? Would you want to be?
I tell you, that's an interesting question, because I came from the computer world where people were talking this way very futuristically, and everyone was like, no way, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, maybe 100 years from now. It's happened a lot faster than we could have imagined. I did a paper about this, I want to say 40 years ago. People were like, you're crazy. That stuff isn't going to happen. And it's happened a lot faster than anyone could have imagined, even than I could have imagined. I'm pretty avant-garde on this stuff to begin with.
Well, I don't think I would want to go to law school and have a life like that, using the glasses.
Oh, because you're saying to some degree the practice of law used to involve a certain collegiality of getting together over a drink or getting together over lunch. Yeah. But that collegiality seems to be disappearing anyway.
Yes. Yeah, well, right now, but we used to have weekly meetings, and I had a chance to go around the room, and I had all the associates there, the partners, and some were in New York, and some were in Nashville, wherever. Now they would be in Munich, because we have an office there. And I used to have a list of all the cases, and I used to prioritize the cases on the list based on a number of factors: the size of the case, the expected return, how long it's going to take, the likelihood of the return, and so forth. And that list I read from, I go down the list, and the young lawyers, or older, the partners even more, did not like it because they didn't like me deciding which were the important cases. So
who else was going to decide? Who else was going to decide?
Well,
some litigation lender or something? I mean, now litigation lender decides, right?
Well, that's probably true. So now they still have the Wednesday meetings, except they're not weekly, they're once a month. And what they have at the meeting is that somebody comes in, some political candidate or somebody like that, and it's not a learning exercise anymore. So that kind of bothers me. And I like and I think that exchange, that connection with the other lawyers was very, very important. And I felt that this way, even though they may not be working, one person is maybe not working on a particular case, they would be aware of the case.
Yes.
So now somebody's out there and they say, where do you work? I work at Legal Brazier. Oh, I read about this case you guys are doing. And the person says, well, geez, I don't know. I never heard of that case.
Yeah, forget it. That looks bad. But the bigger part is, it used to be years ago that if you were a partner, you were responsible for all the other partners, whether they did or didn't do something. So you had an obligation to know about all those cases and all those clients. You know, before this LLP stuff happened, and it was a general partnership, there was really this joint and several liability that said, look, you've really got to be watching over the back of your partner, because A, that guy might disappear. He could get hit by a bus, and then you're going to have to try the case. You know, stuff like that. And I remember when I was at Fenwick and West, you know, David Stafford Cummins and Fenwick and West, we used to say, you know, who's going to handle this case if something happens to so-and-so? He looks like he's thinking about leaving, or she looks like she's thinking about leaving. And let me tell you something. I stepped up a few times and said, I'll do it. And they said, you know, you got chutzpah. And that was like a rank for being a good partner, that you would jump into the fray and deal with all the nasty issues that happens when you have to take over a case for someone that, you know, decides to go on a walkabout, which happens.
No, that's right. And that's the way it ought to be. But now the whole collegial aspect of it, the connection, it's all gone. And I would not, if given a chance today, if I were 23 years old, I would not go to law school.
Really? Even if law school was free?
Yeah, because I think I probably would have gone to, maybe I would have gone into investment banking or something.
No, Bob, I'll give you the flavor of this. So I got asked by the Ninth Circuit to act as a pro bono lawyer in a case. It's for a Black woman. She lost her case at trial. It's one of the very few ADA cases that went to trial. I won't go through the details, but they couldn't find her a lawyer. So when you become a certified specialist, you're on a special list, and they, of course, force you to look at pro bono cases. Oh. So I said yes to them, and then I said to different people in my firm, how would you like to work with me on the case? They all looked at me like, we have no time for that. I said, you got to do some pro bono. They laughed at me like, okay, which ones of the other cases that we're working on are you willing to take back? I mean, they had the right answer for me, which is, well, you know, that's fine, but then you got to reshuffle things. And I always think that people can kind of do more than they imagine they can do. And they always think, you know, you're crazy. I have to have a life. I don't work on weekends. You're nuts. I don't work on evenings. I mean, you know, I don't think of it that way. But years ago, the idea was you took pro bono cases and everyone was like interested. What's the pro bono issue? What's the point of law that we might establish here?
I do hear that. And in my firm, they do take on pro bono cases. But when I was there, I said, no, all our class actions are pro bono. We don't know what's going to happen. We're entering into a joint venture with the client. We're taking our chances. For example, I think I mentioned, I don't know, but the case that they have now, they brought a big class action case for all people incarcerated, claiming that they should get the $1,200 that the government's giving to everybody else. And they won. Now, is that a pro bono case? I guess, I don't know. But I would rather have them spend the time on one of our real cases where we have a huge class. But in any event, I'm no longer there, so they don't listen to whatever I have to say.
But are they buying into this whole Zoom thing in a big way? Like, have they tried to upgrade all their equipment and make sure people have the fastest internet and all that jazz?
Yes, and they do. They've had that, and they do the Zoom stuff. They do mediations on Zoom. They do court hearings on Zoom. Absolutely. And they're going to find that it's not necessary for them to have brick and mortar. They're going to find that they can do these things this way. Now, that's not great in the long run. It's going to change the nature of a law firm. I think law firms can become smaller that way. But I just don't like the idea of I would not start out. I would not go to law school and do that. So your point might be the talent is going to radically change over the next 20 or 30 years because the smarter people like you or me or others
are going to say, this Zoom thing is like playing a video game. I don't really want to play video games. I'd rather have something that has more interactive human behavior involved,
Right.
not over Zoom.
Yes, and I would say that the kind of people who are going to want to do this Zoom stuff and want to be lawyers are the kind of people that my firm has been hiring. They all have third world names. They come from Asia, they come from Eastern Europe, and they have particular skills that are useful with respect to computers. They're not thinking really about the nature of the case and what justice is and how to get justice in the case. They're technicians.
Yeah, but that's not
so
good.
it's
That's
changing.
not good. That's not good for the long run, Bob. That's not good for the great long run.
It's not good for the short run. It's not good for anything. I'm totally opposed to it. I like the idea of having people that understood other people and life, and
Well, I heard something. I heard something yesterday that I thought was good analogy to law. I heard a medical doctor yesterday said, if I were accepting students into medical programs to study medicine, I would not want them to be pre-med. I would want them to take like art history, philosophy,
right.
humanities. I want them to understand human beings. I'll teach them all the biology in the world here in medical school. I'll teach them all the chemistry they need. I'll teach them about blood and heart systems and all that stuff here in medical school. But I want them to be a rounded person that understands humanity. And what we're getting is a lot of pre-meds that get really high grades in biology and chemistry, but they don't have a human touch to them.
I think in the law business that in college, definitely they should be taking that kind of course in humanities and the like. And then I think in law school, I benefited more from the oddball courses I took at Near and Middle Eastern legal systems, European legal systems, copyright law. Some of the courses you would think you would never use. Roman law, my God.
Right.
And I'm happy that I did, because I did not take trust in estates. I have no interest in that then, now, or in the future. And courses like that. I wasn't interested in your typical kind of course. So in any event, I agree with that guy in the medical school. Absolutely, you want to get well-rounded people. So,
but the other way this could go, Bob, is firms might really have 3 or 4 really great, almost actors or actresses who do really well on the screen, the equivalent of saying somebody who's in TV or is in the movies.
Yes.
And then, they more or less get fed a script like Ronald Reagan. I mean, Ronald Reagan was really good on TV. I don't know that he really knew a lot as president, but he was really good in terms of his presence on TV. He was a good actor. He was a really good actor. I have to say, if I think back of Republican presidents that impressed me, I have to say Ronald Reagan is pretty much top of the list. After Lincoln, he's pretty much top of the list.
I also like George Herbert Walker Bush, not George W. Bush, but his father.
Yeah.
I thought his father was better prepared to be president than anybody preceding him or following him. I liked Eisenhower. I thought Eisenhower was a father figure, and he was a comforting figure. They may have been writing his speeches out for him and whatever, but I liked him. So, I actually did like many of the Republican presidents. I'm not thrilled with Biden. However, I'm just so thrilled beyond to get rid of Trump. I mean, I would have taken anybody to get rid of Trump.
Well, you'll enjoy this. I got a call. I was really surprised. I thought it was an emergency. I got a call from Wally with voicemail. he said, "We're opening the champagne here in Portola Valley." I frankly thought I forgot somebody's birthday. I had to call him back to ask what he was talking about because he didn't mention, the fact that Biden had been confirmed in Pennsylvania. He's from Pennsylvania. So, he was born in Pennsylvania. So he said, all my buddies in Pennsylvania pulled us through. I mean, he was really on tenterhooks. He and Gene were on tenterhooks about this. We were laughing because we said, is it somebody's birthday that we forgot? They were talking about bringing out the champagne. What's going on? Maybe someone got pregnant. Maybe Gretchen got pregnant or something. Maybe something new. Something new is going on. We were laughing, Bob. We were laughing when he said, "Oh, Biden's president." We were like, okay. I mean, here in Florida, it's pretty well accepted fact that, everyone here was more like, yeah, Biden's going to be president. At least the people we talked to. Yeah. Yes. But it was a close race. It was a pretty close race. Closer than before. All things considered, considering that he's now a resident here, you would think he would pull, more because he's now really supposedly here. Yes. Yeah, and I said to Susan, if we lived in Miami, I would join his club. I would just join. It's probably a great club to join. Well, if you ever want to come down and spend a little extended time, there's plenty of room down here. How big is the house you live in? Oh, the house we live in is 4,000 feet, but the one that we're looking at right now that's on the lake is 7,000 feet. It's literally got, Bob, you'll love this. It's got two separate wings. It's almost like two houses they put together with this gigantic kitchen in the middle, and the kitchen looks out to the lake. It's basically a fraction of what you would spend. We were shocked when we visited. We were like, so what are you really? It's a gated community, Bob. Are you really thinking about it? Are you thinking about buying it? Well, Lee said to me, if we're going to live here, I'm not living in your mother's house anymore. So I said, you convince her to move, and I'll buy a house with you, and we'll be jointly, we'll jointly own this house. She convinced my mom to move. You know why? Because the security around the lake is much more secure. It's like a fully armed community. I mean, it's like going into, one of these Mar-a-Lago kinds of gated community deals. Yeah. So how long have you been in Florida now? It feels like 6 months, but Lee tells me it's only been 4 months, is what she tells me. It feels like 6 months. Bob, I've got the concealed carry permit for a sidearm. Oh my God! I've got the full Republican regalia here, even though I vote Democrat. So yeah, I've got all the proof of Florida residency at this point. I mean, of course, I still do cases in California, but they're all by Zoom, so you could be anywhere for that matter. The time zones. And how about the people that work in? How about the people that work in your office? They're all connected. They're all connected by Zoom. But I agree with you that I think you got to have a certain degree of physical presence to really make people feel comfortable. So we got a trial in the old courthouse in San Jose starting next month. They tell us it's going to be live and in person, so I'll fly in to do that trial. And there was supposed to be another one in November. It just got shifted back to January. So we'll see what plays out over time. Wow. You gonna take your hat and hairpiece? I don't know if that'll work. I guess I should show you my latest haircut. Take it off. See, they buzz it really close. See, it's a totally different look. They really give you, so I won't have to have a haircut for a couple of months. Of course, I probably look better in this, Bob. No, actually, Jack, I think you look better naturally. I don't think the hat and the hairpiece. You don't think it works? You don't think it works? I think it's amusing. I think it's fun, but I don't think you should go to court like that. I don't know. I've been thinking about testing it, Bob. I have to say, there's part of me that wants to imagine testing it because, I think back to the days when I looked like this and I look like you. You're lucky enough to have the right genes for your hair, which is great. You've always had it, right? So you've always been fine. But you know, I always look back to the day when I looked like that.
Oh, God. Yeah, that looks great. Look at this.
Yeah, I think I've showed you this before.
Great
That was
picture.
me. That was me back in the first bank account in California when I was starting law school back in 1970, whatever it was, mid 70s. Great picture. Bob, if you had to practice law and it was completely and always by Zoom, would you continue to practice at the pace you're practicing? Because it's pretty much maybe the way it's going to be for the next couple of years.
Well, no question about that. That's very easy for me. Yes, the answer is yes, because at this point in my life, I live in a fabulous place, and if I'm not in this house, I'm in at my ranch, and yeah, I like to think I have the gravitas, I have the reputation, I've got the experience that I could do it this way. For me, it's great. I was saying earlier, for a young lawyer, it's not great, but for me, it's great. I've already established the relationships. I know the mediators. I know everybody. I know a lot of the judges. So yeah, now for me, it's very easy. And I'm blessed. I mean, we love this. I mean, I hate to admit it, but we love the life. We cook every night. This is perfect. I mean, if I had to design my career, it was great because I was able to come out here when I was young and energetic and unknown. And I was able to do the Belli thing. I could never have done a Belli thing from here. I had to go on airplanes with him to Europe. I had to hang out and bar. I have lunch. I couldn't be doing that. So that made my career. Absolutely, I would continue. And Susan thinks I should keep doing this until I'm 95. I don't know about that, but
tell them what they say in Hollywood. It's not who you know.
She says that in Hollywood, it's really great. I could work on a case and get paid a year or 2 years from now. And the ridiculous thing about it is that the other side, the big shot lawyers and the big firms, like the cases to continue because it's a meal ticket for them. And from our point of view, if we have to do that, if we could withstand the pressures of time, which I can very easily, then all we're doing is building up Lodestar. It's disgusting. Building up Lodestar. And so, and to justify some mega fee.
But you want it settled.
We don't want to take the risk of trial. I will say that. We want to settle it. We got a case, I got one of my cases where one of the lead lawyers insists on going to trial. And meanwhile, we're getting eaten up because the courts don't want us to go to trial. The courts want us to settle the case. So I had a contrasting experience about a week ago from two federal judges. One said, "Hey, I want to move my cases. My obligation is to clear my docket, move the cases, and I'm going to encourage settlement." The other one says, a prominent judge, he says, "I'm not here to settle cases. I'm here to try cases." Well, he's wrong. His job is to move the case, get it resolved, and get on to the next case.
Well, there's not enough federal judges to try every case. That's just impossible.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So he is. I'm not mentioning who he is, but he is really wrong about that. He misconstrues the function of sitting on that bench, and that's to get justice, to balance the scale, to make it work out, to put pressure on one side and then the other, to let them come to the table to negotiate, to get them scared, award a little bit of stuff to this guy, then go the other way. That's what he's supposed to do.
Right. You got to wonder whether that function can really be carried out by Zoom, because being in a judge's chambers and having him look you straight in the eye and say, "Look, I just don't think you have much of a case here. Maybe you want to think twice." There's really a big difference, including on the client, when the client is there. seeing the judge sort of say, look, maybe you have something here, but the damages aren't going to be what you think they might be.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I'm all in favor of having the client hear that and understand it. We watch some legal movies like Paul Newman and The Verdict. And there the judge was saying, you got a piece of shit, get rid of that. But he was persistent. But of course, it was a movie. It was a movie.
Right.
But, and then the clown in a civil action, Jay Schwickman, who did not even tell his clients who lived in that polluted area that he had a good offer, turned it down, and then lost the case. I mean, that's a terrible lawyer.
And he lost all those Krugerrands. He lost all those Krugerrands that he had to put up to cover all the costs. There's a scene in the movie where they have to give up all their gold Krugerrands at the firm held, I guess, that's just a novelty.
And that guy, he was such a bum. And then, after that, for whatever reason, I hired him.
You did?
I had him in my boss.
Yes. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I wanted to give him a chance to redeem himself. I thought, hey, if I teach him how to do it, maybe next time around. So we had him I had a Boston office then. So I put him in the Boston office. And then we had another spill, a Tom's River spill. And what did he do? The same goddamn thing. And I had to throw him out. That was the end.
Terrible.
He never would have learned the lesson.
What is he doing?
I thought maybe we could do a second movie. Maybe I could.
Yeah, there you go. That's smart. Absolutely.
Did you know that, Sue? I was thinking about another movie. John Travolta played him in the movie. But in any event.
That's a good story, Bob. We should end here and talk about sort of like problems that you've had down the road with people that should do a lot better than they really end up doing. He had a lot of human potential. Maybe he still does. Maybe he still does.
Well, I don't know, but we could talk about cases that turned into movies. And at Bell Eyes, I've got at least 3 that became movies.
Oh, that's good.
Zodiac and stuff like that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to make a list and send you ones that I'm sure Belli was involved in. But remember the ones like Civil Action, because John Travolta did a good job in that film. That's for sure. He
did a good job. And the lawyer on the other side, I can't remember if it was James Mason or Robert Duvall, but it was a corporate lawyer.
Yeah. Duvall. I think it was Robert Duvall.
Yeah, and they get all their people around and they have the resources and they just eat them up. Yeah. So okay, let's do that. Go to church.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for remembering. You take care. You're welcome to come out. I'll let you know if we close on this house. It's got a lot of room. You can have a whole wing, a whole garage, the whole 9 yards.
Pray for us.
I'll pray for Joe. I'll pray for Joe. He's got a big challenge. Joe and Kamala have a big challenge ahead. I'll pray for both of them.
Well, you go to the same church he goes to, a Catholic church.
That's right. That's right. We'll try to make sure that he's motivated. See you later, Bob. See you later, Susan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tune in next time on The Valley Current.